Rain batters the fuselage as the aircraft slices through thick gray clouds, descending toward an invisible runway. Inside the cockpit, voices are steady but tense. The hum of engines drowns out the subtle crackle of overlapping radio transmissions, words repeating, "You're clear to land. Runway 27 left." The captain glances through the windshield, fog swirling like smoke, while the first officer fine-tunes their alignment. In the distance, faint landing lights shimmer, ghostly and distorted. The air traffic controller's tone remains calm. Too calm. Unaware another jet is taxiing into position below. Passengers clutch their armrests, unaware of the silent collision course unfolding through the mist. Then, through the veil of cloud, a shadow appears, broad wings, motionless on the runway. The captain's eyes wide, their breath catches. Is that another plane directly below us? The cockpit fills with warning tones as the aircraft breaks through the final layer of fog. The captain's instincts scream that something is wrong. The runway lights don a line. Shadows look too close. ATC repeats, "Continue approach." But another voice cuts in, garbled, panicked. The first officer's pulse quickens. She sees the outline of a tail fin rising where no tail should be. In the tower, the controller glances between screens, confusion spreading like a slow storm. Two identical flight tags flash, both cleared, both descending. In the cabin, seatbelts tighten, the silence before impact thick as glass. The captain's voice pierces it. "Go around. Now." Engines roar as the jet surges upward, straining against gravity and storm winds. The cabin shudders violently. Passengers scream. Overhead panels rattle. In the tower, voices collide over open frequency. "Abort landing!" Abort. But the words come seconds late. Ground crew dives aside as exhaust and spray burst across the tarmac. Inside, the first officer's hands tremble, breath shallow. The altimeter spinning upward, the other aircraft remains motionless, oblivious. In those seconds, the world bends between survival and disaster. And no one yet knows how close they came. The jet climbs, engines howling, hearts pounding. In the cabin, some cry, some stare blankly, disbelief etched into every face. The captain steadies the plane, voice trembling through the intercom. "We had to abort." Remain seated. The words land heavy. In the tower, silence. The controller's hands hover above the console, realizing both clearances were hers. Radios buzz with overlapping chatter. Another controller leans in, eyes wide. Outside, the rain slows, but the weight of error thickens the air more than the storm ever could. Above the storm, the jet steadies at 5,000 feet. The captain's hands shake slightly as he adjusts the controls. AT's voice returns, quivering. "Flight 392. Go around acknowledged. We, apologize." The first officer stares out the window, rain fading into the dark horizon. In the cabin, passengers whisper prayers. A mother holds her child. A businessman quietly weeps. In the tower, the controller removes her headset, unable to breathe. Down below, the runway stands empty again. Silent, drenched, almost innocent. But somewhere deep inside, every soul that night knows it wasn't the storm that nearly killed them. It was the voice that said they were clear to land. Silence lingers in the cockpit, the kind that hums louder than sound itself. Then, the radio erupts with panic. "Tower, confirm. Who's cleared for runway 27 left?" The captain's knuckles whiten around the yoke. Below, the clouds churn like dark water. The first officer's eyes dart between radar blips. Both aircraft icons blink dangerously close. In the tower, confusion fractures the calm. The controller flips through paper strips, her pulse racing as realization strikes two clearances. One runway. Static fills her headset, voices colliding. One pilot shouting. Another, demanding clarity. But clarity no longer exists. For 6 seconds, the entire sky becomes chaos contained inside a metal shell. The controller's voice trembles as she transmits. Flight 392, go around immediately. Runway occupied. Her partner freezes, eyes glued to the radar's overlapping blips. In her periphery, warning indicators blink like silent accusations. She mutters, "How did this happen?" The rain blurs the tower windows into watercolor streaks of light. On the ground, the other aircraft sits still, unaware that seconds ago, death skimmed its tail. In the air, the captain steadies the climb. Voice even but hollow, "We're going around." The first officer nods silently, her hands shaking. The tower falls quiet. Every controller holds their breath. Back in the cabin, fear spreads in whispers. Passengers grip hands, eyes darting to the window where storm clouds flash silver. A mother murmurs to her child that everything's okay. A lie spoken through trembling lips. The businessman wipes tears behind his glasses, pretending it's rain on the window. The plane banks sharply, engines roaring as lightning ignites the horizon. For a heartbeat, everyone sees the second jet below, a ghostly reflection of what could have been their grave. The world seems to tilt, time bending between fear and survival. Then, the aircraft steadies, and quiet sobs ripple through the cabin. The captain exhales sharply, voice calm but clipped. "Tower, this is 392. Executing go around." Static swallows half the words. The first officer reconfigures the instruments, her movements mechanical, eyes hollow from adrenaline. The engines respond with a deep roar, vibrating the entire fuselage. In the tower, the controller buries her face in her hands, headset still on, listening to every second of what she almost caused. Her colleague places a hand on her shoulder, not comfort but disbelief. The radar shows both aircraft now separating safely. Yet in that blip of digital light, the echo of human error lingers like smoke. The storm thins into a velvet haze as the aircraft circles back into holding pattern. The captain sits in silence, mind replaying the sight, the shape of the other jet beneath them. His heart pounds not from fear, but fury. HE's calm. Voice finally returns. Low, shaken. Flight 392. Maintain 5,000 feet. Stand by. The first officer nods, whispering, "That was too close." The passengers sit in stunned quiet, some praying. Others simply stare. In the tower, no one speaks. Outside, dawn begins to bleed through the horizon, painting the soaked runway gold. The same strip of asphalt that almost became their end. The captain levels the aircraft as the city lights flicker below through remnants of rain. Adrenaline lingers in the air. Invisible. Electric. "Let's debrief after," he mutters, voice barely audible. The first officer nods, blinking hard, still hearing the alarms echoing in her mind. In the tower, emergency coordination begins. Supervisors rush in, drawn by the word no one wants to hear. Incursion. On the runway, ground crews stare at the sky, replaying the shadow that nearly fell on them. The truth begins to take shape, piece by piece. 2 flights, 2 clearances, 1 mistake that should have been impossible. In the cabin, a murmur builds, disbelief shared between strangers who now feel like survivors. The pilot's announcement confirms what they already know in their bones: there was another plane. The businessman exhales shakily, muttering, "We almost didn't make it." The young woman across the aisle stares at her reflection in the window, tears streaking unnoticed. Above them, the engines hum steady, a sound that now feels like fragile reassurance. The first officer turns slightly, watching the horizon. Her voice, soft but cracked, breaks the silence. "I thought we were dead." At the control tower, the recording plays back. 2 clearances within 4 seconds, same runway, same calm voice. The supervisor's expression hardens. He rewinds. Listens again. The controller stares blankly at the screen, unable to blink. "They heard me say 27 left," she whispers, voice fading into static hum. But the truth is cruel, both did. Her partner shifts beside her, shame flooding his face. Outside, the sky glows orange, deceptively serene. Inside, the tower feels colder than steel. What they all realize in that moment is unbearable. The system worked perfectly, until the humans inside it didn't. Back in the sky, the captain breathes deep, his voice steady but raw. "We'll try again when cleared." He meets the first officer's eyes. Unspoken understanding, the kind forged only through survival. She manages a half smile, exhaustion breaking through composure. The passengers, calmer now, watch clouds drift beneath the rising sun. The captain checks instruments, forcing focus, while below, investigators arrive on the runway with clipboards and cameras. The same asphalt glistens with dew, as if nature itself tries to cleanse what almost happened there. For a long moment, no one speaks. The controller removes her headset, staring at her reflection in the glass. Below, planes move like clockwork, indifferent to what just happened. Her hands tremble as she whispers to herself, "I cleared them both." No one answers. The supervisor makes a note, voice calm, eyes hollow. In the sky, Flight 392 waits for reapproach clearance, its passengers unaware that their survival will soon become a case study. The morning sun rises higher, indifferent and bright. What remains are the voices, faint echoes trapped in a recording, the sound of near tragedy disguised as routine. Within hours, investigators flood the control tower, clipboards in hand, voices clipped and urgent. The air smells of burnt coffee and anxiety. The controller sits in silence, headset coiled beside her like a discarded lifeline. Recordings are replayed, every second analyzed, every syllable dissected. The phrase repeats, "You're clear to land. Runway 27 left." It sounds harmless, routine, yet its echo now carries the weight of catastrophe barely avoided. The supervisor answers questions with measured calm, but his eyes betray sleepless guilt. Outside, the runway glimmers under midday sun, deceptively peaceful. Inside, truth tightens its grip. In a sterile conference room below the tower, the pilots recount their side of the event. The captain's voice remains calm, his words deliberate. "We were cleared. Same runway, same time." The first officer listens, hands folded tight, trying not to relive the moment she saw the other aircrafts tail through the mist. Investigators jot notes furiously. One leans forward, asking, "Did you confirm the clearance?" The captain hesitates. "Only a second, but it's enough." We trusted the voice. The room falls silent. For once, that word, trust, feels heavier than metal. Downstairs, technicians replay radar logs frame by frame. Each pulse, each sweep of green light reveals how fate nearly folded in on itself. 2 flight codes blink, merge, separate, their dance now immortalized on screen. One technician mutters, "Overlap errors under 2 seconds." Another adds, "She didn't hear his transmission." Both transmitted at once. It's a rare glitch, human and machine fused in failure. The supervisor watches quietly, pen motionless, realizing that no simulation could have prevented this moment. It wasn't data that failed, it was belief. Hours later, fatigue sets in. The controller sits alone in a corner office, looking out across the field. Aircraft rise and fall like clockwork. Perfect, mechanical, unfeeling. She replays the sound again, her own voice steady and polite, sealing 2 clearances into one nightmare. Tears slide down silently. Her colleague knocks gently, but doesn't enter. Down below, a new shift begins. voices calm and confident, as if the sky has forgotten. But she knows better. For every safe landing, there's a human heartbeat behind the frequency, trembling between routine and disaster. Night returns, calm and indifferent. The investigation continues under flickering fluorescent light. Reports pile high, statements blur into monotony. Yet in every retelling, the same phrase cuts through like static. "You're clear to land." The captain writes his own report, pausing on that line, then crossing it out, rewriting it slower, heavier. In the tower, the controller signs her final statement. No excuses. Just one sentence: "I made a mistake." Outside, the airfield glows again under floodlights. Planes taxi. Voices resume. The world keeps moving, but every takeoff now carries the echo of that almost ending. The news breaks before dawn. Headlines flash across networks. Runway near miss under investigation. The footage shows two planes, one rising through fog, one waiting beneath, the moment frozen mid-breath. Voices fill the air with speculation, human error, system flaw, miracle escape. The captain turns off the television in his hotel room, jaw tight. The first officer sits across the room, still wearing yesterday's uniform, staring at nothing. They're alive, yet their names are now part of the story. Outside, cameras gather at the airport gates, chasing faces that would rather stay invisible. At the airport terminal, reporters swarm like gulls on the tarmac. Microphones thrust forward, demanding answers no one is ready to give. "Were you aware of the other plane? Did ATC fail you?" The captain's eyes lower, his tone measured but distant. Everyone did their job. The statement fuels more questions, not fewer. Behind him, the first officer's expression tightens. Tired, defensive, wounded. Security escorts them through flashing cameras. In the background, passengers pass by unaware that their near death is now public entertainment. The roar of departing flights fills the silence left by truth unspoken. The controller's interview airs that evening. Her voice, recorded softly in a dim studio, cracks only once. "I made a mistake," she admits. "I'll live with it." The camera lingers on her trembling hands, the silence afterward more powerful than apology. Across the country, viewers hold their breath. Some see guilt, others courage. Aviation analysts debate, each dissecting seconds as if they were lifetimes. In her apartment, she turns off the screen and sits in darkness, city lights glowing faintly through blinds. Somewhere, a departing flight hums overhead, its sound both comfort and punishment. Across newsrooms and social feeds, experts dissect the timeline. Some blame fatigue, others outdated communication systems. Former pilots defend the crew's decision to abort. Comment sections overflow with praise and accusation alike. In a control center somewhere else, a new trainee listens to recordings of the incident as training material. "This is what human error sounds like," her instructor says. The words hang heavy. The sky outside remains full of planes, each one dependent on 1,000 flawless transmissions. Every voice on the frequency carries the ghost of that one wrong clearance. Weeks later, the official report is released. Loss of separation due to simultaneous clearance. The phrasing is technical, bloodless. Yet every reader feels its pulse. The airline issues statements, promising review and reform. The captain sits alone in the briefing room, reading the report line by line. He circles a phrase in red: "Pilot executed go around at 400 feet, preventing collision." A quiet victory carved from chaos. Meanwhile, the controller receives her suspension notice. She doesn't contest it. Some mistakes can't be appealed. Still, as planes roar overhead, she looks up and whispers, "Fly safe." Months pass, but the echoes remain. The controller, now working at a regional dispatch center, sits by her window each morning, watching aircraft rise into pale dawn. She still hears her own voice in the back of her mind. Calm, polite, fatal. The world has moved on, but her silence hasn't. Across the city, the captain attends safety conferences, his name now whispered as the man who saved 300 lives. He doesn't feel like a hero. Every time an aircraft banks through fog, he sees that shadow on the runway again. Neither of them speaks about it, but both know. Survival leaves scars, too. At an aviation safety seminar, the captain stands behind a podium, reading from prepared notes. His voice is calm, professional, but his eyes betray fatigue. The audience listens as he describes the decision to abort, the seconds that separated life and loss. When he finishes, the room remains silent before applause erupts. Yet afterward, when the lights dim, he lingers behind, staring at the slide showing two blips converging on radar. A reporter approaches, asking, "Do you believe in luck?" He doesn't answer. He just stares at the screen, at the space where fate almost closed. The first officer visits the simulator room alone one evening. The hum of electronics fills the darkness as she replays the flight. Same weather, same approach, same voice in her headset. She performs the go-around again. This time earlier, faster, perfect. Yet the satisfaction doesn't come. She knows it wasn't about perfection that night. It was about instinct. She powers down the system, standing in silence as the lights fade. Outside, the real sky waits. Unprogrammable, unpredictable. She exhales softly, whispering, "Once was enough." Meanwhile, a documentary airs. The day two planes shared a runway. Interviews with survivors play alongside footage of rain, fog, and blinking lights. Viewers around the world watch in disbelief. The passenger who once gripped the armrest now narrates calmly, his voice steady but soft. "We never even knew how close it was. We just felt something change in the air." The screen cuts to radar replay, two dots meeting, then separating. A line of text fades in 400 feet. That's all that saved them. The world gasps at the number, but for those who lived it, it's not data. It's a heartbeat. Late one night, the controller drives back to the airport for the first time since the incident. The terminals glow like lanterns against a black horizon. She parks near the perimeter fence, watching planes descend one by one, their lights gliding in perfect rhythm. Her breath fogs against the window as she whispers each clearance softly to herself, not out of duty, but memory. Runway 27 left, cleared to land. She pauses, her voice breaking on the words. Somewhere above, a plane touches down safely. For the first time in months, she smiles, not for forgiveness, but for flight itself. Years later, the memory still breathes in quiet places. The controller now teaches new recruits, her voice steady, her lessons anchored in humility. She plays them the recording, not as warning, but as truth. "You'll make mistakes," she says softly, "but own them before they own you." In another corner of the world, the captain, retired, walks through an aviation museum where the flight's tail number rests on display, a plaque beneath it reading, "Aviation incident avoided." He stares at it for a long time, not as a reminder of fear, but of how close grace can come to disaster. The first officer, now a captain herself, guides a new crew through cloud banks on approach to another airport. Her hands are calm, her voice minutes, her heart still quickening at every descent through fog. She hears ATC say, "You're clear to land," and for a split second, memory flashes, the silhouette, the panic, the go-around. Then she exhales, trusting again, steady in the rhythm of duty. The landing is smooth. She glances at her co-pilot and smiles. Fear doesn't fade, she's learned. It just learns its place beside courage. The passenger, now older, speaks at a memorial for aviation safety workers. "We didn't die that day," he says, voice trembling, "but we learned how close we came to the line." His words settle over the crowd like fog before dawn. In front of him, controllers, pilots, and family stand silent, the sound of jets humming faintly in the distance, He looks toward the sky, eyes glistening. "Every safe landing begins with a human voice," he adds. "And sometimes it shakes." The audience nods. They understand now. Perfection isn't a goal. Awareness is. In the tower, a new generation of controllers work through the night shift. Their screens glow in rhythm, the air thick with quiet concentration. On the wall hangs a small photo. Two aircraft in fog, one climbing above the other. A handwritten note beneath reads, "Listen twice, speak once." The instructor, older now, glances at it before keying her mic. "Runway 27 left, you're cleared to land." Her voice steady, calm, but not careless. In that moment, she understands that healing isn't forgetting. It's continuing the work. The film closes on the captain walking along the old runway at dusk, years after retirement. The asphalt stretches before him, dry now, but the ghosts of rain still whisper in his mind. He kneels, touches the ground where the shadow once appeared, and smiles faintly. Planes roar overhead, their lights gliding like constellations reborn. He whispers into the wind, "You're clear to land." This time the words mean peace, not peril. The camera lingers as twilight deepens. Engines fade, and silence takes its rightful place. The kind that means the world kept flying.